And then she had to like woman this stick back up the hill, and it kept like half of it would hit the snow and get stuck, and she would struggle with it, and then she'd try to go between two trees and it would get stuck, and then she'd have to figure it out. And I was behind her going, you are a warrior. Like, you're a warrior princess. You are incredible. She is such a, she has a little internal warrior in her that I love. She's tenacious. This dog did not give up. She was like, I will take this stick home no matter what. Amazing. And so I try to counter my my baby talk, with love your little face, with who, her inner spirit of who she is. Right. So that's what I mean to say about, it's not really the words that you're saying, it's how you feel about them. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the words, the things that we say to our dog, and how, honestly, if we learn to talk less, we would say more. This is why your words might be confusing your dog. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Well, hello, my dog-loving friend. It's Tracy, and this is Beyond Obedience, the podcast. Welcome. Hey, are you like me and fed up with winter? I am so fed up with it. Somebody's going to come on and be like, yeah, but there's no bugs. Okay, except I have to go down. This is true. I have to get to where my animals are. I have to slide on my butt. That is a true story. I might video it so people actually believe me. I have to slide down on my butt. It's so icy and everything is hard, and I'm making this face that's like, ugh, everything is so hard. Don't worry, it'll be mud season soon, and then I'll be complaining about that. Mark my words, I will complain about the mud season. All right, let's get into it. What are we talking about today on the podcast? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're talking about talking. Oh my gosh, that's so meta. We're going to be talking about talking. Yes, we're going to talk about talking. I wanted to share with you one of, we call in my world, we call these Nelsonisms, right? If you haven't heard, my mentor Nelson, we call these Nelsonisms. And this was probably one of the best known Nelsonisms that he speaks about. And that would be this: if you want to talk to your dog, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Shut your pie hole. If you want to talk to your dog, shut your mouth. That's one of his most famous Nelsonisms. And I really wanted to actually talk about that, dive into why this is so important. And at the end of it, I'm going to challenge you to a duel. No, I'm going to challenge you to an exercise I want you to try. And if you try it, I really, really want you to tell me how it goes. I really do. So if you aren't already in the free Facebook group, the Living Beyond Obedience Facebook group, head on over to that and just ask to join that. Try the exercise, and then I want to know. I want to know how it went. Please tell me, because I'll tell you why it's so important. The people that have tried this before have been like, it's magical. And I'm like, I know, it's so magical. All right, let's talk about talking, and this idea that we want to talk less so that we can say more to our dogs. Why your words might be confusing your dog. That's the topic for today. And first and foremost, I want to talk about the idea of why it is that our words aren't working, right? And the very first thing is, dogs are just not vocal creatures. And now all of my Chihuahua owners are like, hell to the no. They are so vocal. My Husky owners are like, I do protest that statement. I don't. I know what you're saying. Okay, some dogs are vocal. Some dogs are vocal. But generally speaking, vocal and language and all that isn't their primary way of communicating. It's actually a secondary reinforcer to a conversation they've already had. What does that mean? That means they've already said what they needed to say through body language, energy, intent, right? Where they position themselves, how they position themselves, all of that good stuff. They've already said what they needed to say, and you didn't get it. So it becomes a secondary reinforcer to what they've already said. They will use vocalization to other dogs and whatnot to let them know, hey, just so you know, I've made a statement here, right? I'm positioned in this way and you're not listening. Now I'm going to add a growl. Now I'm going to up the ante because you're not paying attention, right? But it's secondary. It's not their first line of defense when it comes to communication. And honestly, when you think about it that way, the way that we talk to our dogs is often, well, it's for us. It's not for them, right? You know this, all the times that you're teaching obedience commands, the words don't matter. You can teach obedience and use the word guacamole to mean sit, and they'll sit every time. It doesn't matter. It's for us. It's not for them. And in a lot of cases, and this happens to many people, our constant talking ends up becoming background noise. And if we're doing it with our obedience, if we're repeating ourselves with obedience, we can get the classic sit, 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 right? And all of a sudden your dog realizes that it takes 4.5 sits before you actually have to do it, right? The other one, now it's not really the same thing, but it made me think of it for some reason. I used to have a client that had a boxer, and when I went over to her house for the very first time, and I knocked on the door, I just kept on hearing, no, bad dog, no, bad dog. And when I came in, I said, I honestly thought your dog's name was No, Bad Dog. And she burst out laughing, and that ended up becoming that poor dog's nickname. So for forever and ever, we called that dog No, Bad Dog. Anyway, my point is this: the words that we're saying aren't as effective, right? And then more importantly than that, and this is really the point that I wanted to make, because I spent a lot of time, discussing this with, the students inside the Fearful Dog or my one-on-one clients. It's really not about what you say. It's about how you feel about what you say, right? How we feel about what we say is actually what we are portraying, right? So for example, let's take some examples. If, for example, you're someone who has struggled where you've had an incident in the past where your dog has been attacked by an off-leash dog, and you're out walking your dog and you see another off-leash dog, and you start saying things like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, right? Trying to calm your dog down, but you are freaking out because you're like, I don't know if this is actually okay, and your mind is running wild with what used to happen or what happened in the past, and you're freaking out. Your dog isn't hearing the words. They're reading how you feel about the words, right? They're reading how you feel in this moment. So the words don't match up with your body language. The things you're saying doesn't match up with actually what you're communicating through your body language, through your tone, through your energy, through your intent, all of that stuff. So it ends up being confusing, especially if out of context, you actually use the words, it's okay, to try to comfort your dog, right? So now you've got two conflicting things. You've got an obedience command, not a command, but a word that your dog has queued up to mean something else, but in this context you're freaking out, and now it no longer makes sense, right? It cloudies the cloudies what is that? It clouds the communication. Cloudies. It is late. I normally do this during the day, but I couldn't because I record my sidebar. I record my podcast in my son's room and he works night shifts. So I couldn't go in there during the day. So I'm like, I can do it at nighttime. But meanwhile, apparently not. Let's see if we can get through it. Right. The other example I use about this idea, but it's not what you say, it's how you feel about what you say. If you haven't heard this already, many people know this about me. I'm not a fan of the word fur baby. And if you're new to me, you're like, why not, Tracy? There's many reasons, but the main reason why I don't like the term fur baby isn't because of the words. It's because how people feel about the words. I see this a lot with little dogs. I'm going to put this out there. I see this a lot with little dogs. And don't get me wrong. I do it too. Okay. I'm not sitting here saying I don't do that. I talk, baby to my Jack Russell because, oh my gosh, her face is so cute. I mean, all my dogs are cute, but when they're little, they're just little faces and you just want to, and your voice just automatically goes up and we start to say things and I really have to challenge myself, and I do challenge myself to try to counter that with who she really is, because she is a Jack Russell Terrier, which means that she has it in her programming somewhere, maybe not her family programming, but somewhere deep in those genetics, there is a drive to kill. There's some prey drive in there. There's some like annihilations. If you've ever watched Jack Russell's work, Google that. Google working Jack Russells and watch them. It's somewhat disturbing, but also amazing. And so I counterbalance my goo goo gaga baby talk, like, oh my God, you're so cute, and look at your little face, and all of that stuff. I counter that, like, when I'm out in the woods with her, and she, like, for example, this is true. For example, the last time we went out in the woods, which was a few days ago, because now it's sheer ice and I can't go anywhere. But before the ice storms hit, and I was walking the woods, she found this stick. And I was like, she found it very early on in the trip. She took it all the way down to the wooded trail. And then she had to she-woman this stick back up the hill. And it kept half of it would hit the snow and get stuck, and she would struggle with it. And then she'd try to go between two trees and it would get stuck, and then she'd have to figure it out. And I was behind her going, you are a warrior. You're a warrior princess. You are incredible. I had this whole, you're this warrior dog, because she is such a, she has a little internal warrior in her that I love. She's tenacious. This dog did not give up. She was like, I will take this stick home no matter what. Amazing. And so I try to counter my my baby talk, with love your little face, with who, her inner spirit of who she is. Right. So that's what I mean to say about, it's not really the words that you're saying, it's how you feel about them. And if you find yourself kind of, going, poor thing. It's the same thing I say with people that have rescues and you keep retelling the sad story of your dog's rescue. Your emotion about that story hangs in the air, and it becomes palpable, and the dogs pick up on that. So they're not reading or listening to your words. They're picking up on the emotional energy around the words. And you have to be a lot more aware of that, because we'll see huge changes and shifts in dogs' behavior when the humans start to be like, oh man, if I just change how I feel about this, but my dog picks up on it right away. And we know that to be true. Okay. So the bottom line is our jibber jabber, our constant talking, just causes more confusion. It just cloudies the water of clarity. Oh my God, where am I going with this? I never do podcasting at nighttime, Tracy. It does make everything far more confusing. And here's the thing, and this is what I find fascinating, because again, I'm not saying I don't talk to my dogs. I chat with my dogs all the time. Sometimes I'm telling them about my day. Sometimes I'm telling them about, whatever, the weather. I'm usually probably right now complaining about the weather. They're probably like, all right, enough about the weather already. But what's interesting with my dogs is my dogs know that I'm serious when I stop talking. Like if they're like doing something and I literally just step into their space and like, and then gave them like a look, they're like, oh, shoot, she means it. Right? They know that there's a seriousness to it, which I find funny. They're like, she means it. She stopped talking. Pay attention to her. Pay attention. She's not talking anymore. So here's the game that I want you to try. Even if you tried it before, if you've heard me talk about this before, I want you to try it again, because what else are you going to do in the winter time? Unless you're somebody that lives down south. You're like, winter what? But if you're like me up in Canada, in the frozen tundra, there's not much else to do. So here's a fun game. It's called the Be Quiet game. Okay. And here is your challenge. You're going to challenge yourself to communicate with your dog using your hand gestures, your body language, your energy, your intent. You can have an agreement noise or a disagreement noise. That's all you get. Okay? No talking. And I will say this, if you are somebody who has done obedience stuff, please do not use the hand signals that you've cued already with obedience commands. I want you to not think about it as an obedience thing, but actually as communication, conversation. And then I want you to try to do things, right? Try to get your dog to do stuff. Set up a little tiny obstacle course. Put the ottoman in a different place. Try to get your dog to go around something. Try to get your dog to just put their front feet on something. Try to get your dog to go under something. Like, can you go under? And you can get down. You can mimic what you want them to do. You can use your hand gestures to point or tap on things. But I really want you to try this exercise, because what people have told me in the past, when they've really, really tried this, when they've really committed to actually making an effort to do this, what people have said to me is that it was like my dog was starting to read my mind. And I'm like, mind blown. They're not reading your mind. They're reading everything else. And here's the thing. Dogs are always reading our body language and our energy, but because we're just not saying anything with it. When you start to get intentional with this, they have to pay attention to you. Right? When you stop talking, they were going like, what's wrong with my human? Like normally they're jibber jabbering at me all the time. And it's just this chatter that happens in the background that I get so used to that I block it out. But now you're being quiet. Now I have to pay attention. And if you start to engage with them with your body language, again, trying different things, using hand gestures. Like, for example, like obviously if I want my dogs to come close to me, I open up my arms. And that is their signal to like come into my space. If I want them to move back, I'm going to step into their space, see what happens. Did they move out of my way? Did they just look offended? Like what happened? Right? But try in your mind, like set up an actual obstacle course where you know exactly what you want the dog to do. And if they don't do it, like if something and they're like, I don't get what you're saying, you just try again. But just if the dog starts to get all like, what, I don't know what's going on, and gets a little bit frantic, that means you have to be more calm. Just calm yourself and just be like, you're not getting it. It's okay. Don't say words, but just be like, okay, let's try again. And then when they do it, you can like an agreement can just be a smile, right? Or you can put your hands up or clap and be like, yay, whatever. A disagreement can just be an or like, whatever. You can disagree. However, most people have an or an if you don't have any of those noises, you can say no or nope. But remember, this isn't about training. So I want you to keep it really loosey-goosey, right? I don't want any harsh no's. I just want, if you're going to use words, which I don't want you to do, I would rather you do a disagreement noise. But if you had to use words, I would do a nope instead of a no, right? Because it's fun. And it's just going to be a like, nope, try again kind of a thing, right? And then see what you get. If you can, this is your challenge. If you can, do it for a half a day. Now, obviously, I always have to say this because somebody was like, yeah, I took my dogs out to the park and they didn't follow me at all. You have to do this in a contained area. Okay. Sometimes, some people will get back to me and I'll be like, I didn't think I had to make that clear, but I should have, I guess, made it clear. You have to do it in a contained area. Obviously, don't take your dog to the dog park and not talk to them. Like if they're not paying attention to you, you might need to get their attention. If they're running away from you, that's going to be challenging, right? So do this in a contained area. As I say, if you're like me in the wintertime, this is a fun thing to do in your house, right? Do it in your living room or whatnot. Just, take a kitchen chair out and see if you can get them to go around the chair, put their foot up on a chair or whatever. Use their dog bed and be like, I don't know. Be creative. Put a little broom in between two kitchen chairs and get them to go underneath the broom. I don't know. Like you figure it out. It'll be fun. Enjoy yourself. Just enjoy yourself and have fun. Try the be quiet game, right? And see what your dog does. See how engaged your dog gets when you start speaking their language. Because, oh my gosh, when they start figuring out what it is that you're doing, they get really, really happy about it. They really do. All right, so let's recap the key takeaways. Dogs don't speak human. That's a good key takeaway. They don't speak human, right? And us focusing all of our attention on teaching them to understand us is one side of a relationship, but taking the time to understand their language and start communicating in a language they understand, I think it's worthwhile. Okay, I think that's a better balanced relationship if you ask me. It's not what you say, okay? It's not the words that you say, it's how you feel about it, okay? So when we're talking about, using words, when our body language, when, we're not feeling it, it doesn't work with dogs because they're really not listening to the words. You're not going to fool them. Talking too much creates confusion, not clarity. Okay, all of our jibber jabbering, too much. Okay, and silent communication through body language and energy is way more effective and fun. So again, I want you to try that be quiet game. And then I want you to tell me about it. We'll put a post up in Living Beyond Obedience a little bit later when you had a chance to do it. And you can comment underneath that. Let us know if you tried it. If you tried it, then let us know how it went. Tell me how it went. Let me know. Go to Facebook and join Living Beyond Obedience, the Facebook group. That's your free Facebook group. And if you want some more help with anything related to your dogs, you can always book a calm, confident coaching call with me. It's at a great introductory price right now. You should grab a spot. I will say it is filling up. It is. I have a lot of coaching calls coming up. So if you're like, I need to get in on that in this introductory price, please do grab that. Go to beyondobedience.ca/session to book your calm, confident coaching call with me. Sit down. We'll talk about your dogs. We'll come up with a plan. It'll be fun. We hang out. It'll be fun. All right. I think that's it for me today. Listen, if you enjoyed this podcast, can you do me a favor and share it with your friends? If you're on Apple, give it a 5-star written review. It really does help push the podcast out to more and more people. And it lets me know that you're liking it. On Spotify, you can rate it, you can comment, all of that good stuff. And as always, get out there today and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you're amazing, and so do I. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only and is not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, be sure to reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.